Before we get to today's video, I wanted to let you know that I will be giving away a 2020 1-ounce Krugerrand to a lucky subscriber. So if you are not subscribed, you might want to, because in the next couple of weeks, I'm going to be giving this sucker away. More details to come. Now let's get to our video. Why do we value silver? Why did the ancients value silver? Are the reasons the same? Let's get to the bottom of this today on the culture of currency. Today we are going to tackle a really interesting question about human behavior as we look into why we value silver. We being the collective we, as many of our individual reasons are different. It would be a challenge to sufficiently argue that we as humans have not changed as a society and culture over the past couple thousand years, but what I find interesting is our behaviors as a species tend to be the same, and this question of why do we value silver is a great representation of this. The reason I asked this question is that I saw this chart in a news article today. Notice how silver is mostly a byproduct of other materials being mined. This makes me think that, as a business standard, other materials are much more lucrative than silver, yet we perceive silver to be one of the best financial instruments. Why is that? In ancient times, as many of us know, silver was valued, but not in the way that you're thinking. Before the world developed currency for the trade of goods, like coins, anything could be used to trade goods. Asian nations, for example, often use silk. Silver became valued first as an aesthetic. It was easily smelted, and with the softness of the metal, it could be manipulated easily and polished to a very high shine. In this fashion, it was used to adorn clothing, create jewelry, make figurines, and ritual objects, as well as a form of wealth in a less refined version known as hex silver. Many cultures started with silver being only approved by nobility and for diplomatic trade, which caused silver to create haves and have-nots between their own cultures and other countries. Silver ore is usually less than 1% silver, but it was fairly easy to find in many areas, and the smelting process is not as rigorous as other metals, so it became a lucrative business. Even natives of the Americas mined and smelted silver using crucibles over fire heated by charcoal or with tubes to blow embers to optimal temperature. All over the world, silver held footing with the highest levels of society. This was one of the elements that divided the working class and the ruling class. This was evident in the pre-coin era. The question we must raise is, why did we as a species find it valuable? We know humans are unique as being one of the only creations that can assess value, but our association with value and money being synonymous, I find, is one of the logical fallacies of our downfall. In ancient times, the correlation of silver value was in vanity, as it was used as a separator of people and something to embellish you in the eyes of your guests. It was not to be stored or hidden, but rather to be worn or displayed in a way that could impress those who were in your presence. This is the equivalent of being envious of the lifestyle of the rich and the famous. We as humans have not changed in our perception that wealth equals some level of happiness, as it is portrayed in film, media, music, and advertising, even though statistics would say that most of your areas of celebrity struggle with substance abuse, depression, and suicide at a far higher rate than the average person. This is easily understood when we talk about another item that was even more valuable than gold or silver in ancient times. If I walked the streets in a purple robe in 500 BC, I would be able to sell it and buy armies. We often refer to the color purple as a color of royalty, and it was due to the process in which it took to get the pigment. The only way in ancient times you could go get a purple pigment that would actually stay in clothing was to find one species of very small snail in the ocean and crush it. This was so labor intensive that a purple shirt in today's value would be over $100,000. When technology advanced, the ability to create purple pigments increased, and the value of purple was no more than any other color. This is why today we do not hold value in it. We do not see it as something the average person cannot obtain. The Egyptians gave us another great example. Egypt had a great supply of gold, but it could not find silver, so it actually for a time valued silver more than gold. This is a supply and demand issue to a degree, but the why there was a demand did not have to do with investments, but rather so that they could impress and fit in with other world dignitaries. Wealth was a visual tool of might, oftentimes more than a financial one in the ancient world. Silver eventually found its way onto coins. A notable coin is one of the first Greek coins that hosted a turtle to represent oceanic trade. This was produced because the Greeks needed to pay mercenaries in a way that it was easy for them to carry as they traveled. This is also where a shift of why we value silver forever changed. Instead of silver being visual opulence, it became value of trade for more and more people as nations created coins that could be used to trade for goods. It is here where silver starts to represent the value of perceived goods rather than the adornment of one's person. So, have we changed as a species from our perception of value on silver? Yes and no. We can still look at stacks and stacks of silver bars and feel something guttural as we ponder what if we had possession of that silver because our perceived value. But just like with the purple dye, societal norms dictate value more than logic. Maybe this makes me odd or an outlier, but it is also the reason I'm a collector and not a stacker. When I look at silver coins, my value has nothing to do with the silver as a financial instrument, but rather due to its beauty. The image and stories associated with these coins are where the values lie for me. So where does it lie for you? Thank you for watching, and as always, please stay classy and current with the culture of currency.